General Hospital spoilers for Friday, April 4th, reveal that Ava receives some truly shocking news that freezes her in place while sitting in her hospital room, still recovering from the attack by Molly. Through a reliable source in the Port Charles police force, Ava learns that Rick not only woke up from his coma but has also begun to recall details of the accident, including seeing someone sabotage his car. What terrifies Ava isn't just the fact that Rick may remember the accident, but what he could reveal about their secret relationship before the crash, one tied to a plot against Sunny that they had planned together. The new story of the danger Rick now presents highlights the increasing severity of the situation. As Rick's memory returns, he starts to realize that the accident wasn't an accident at all but an intentional effort to silence him. In the weeks leading up to the accident, Rick had uncovered evidence linking Ava to an international crime syndicate attempting to infiltrate Sunny's territory. Despite his complicated history with his half-brother Sunny, Rick still maintained some level of loyalty to the family and had begun investigating Ava and her allies. When Ava discovered that Rick was investigating her, she approached him with an offer to join forces to overthrow Sunny and share the power afterward. Rick, seeing this as an opportunity to gather more information, pretended to agree, starting a dangerous game of double deception. However, when Rick began collecting too much information and became too dangerous for Ava's plan, she decided to eliminate him. But instead of acting directly, she hired a third party to sabotage Rick's car, a third party that no one suspected, Christina, Sunny's daughter and Molly's half-sister. The story of the accusations Molly is making is only getting more intense, as she, after attacking Ava, continues to investigate and begins connecting the dots. She uncovers evidence of Ava's link to the crime syndicate and signs that her father might have known about it. But the most shocking discovery is a series of texts between Ava and someone named Kay, which suggests that Kay had been paid to do a job involving Rick's car. With her sharp intuition as a future lawyer, Molly starts to suspect that Kay might be Christina, a suspicion that grows stronger as she notices changes in her sister's behavior since the accident. Christina, who frequently visits the hospital to check on Rick's condition, appears overly worried and avoids conversations about the details of the accident. Molly also notices that Christina seems to be avoiding Ava, even though they had once been close. As Molly digs deeper, she discovers something even more shocking. Evidence suggesting that Christina didn't just sabotage Rick's car at Ava's request, but did so believing the car belonged to Ava, not Rick. It seems that Ava had deceived Christina, using her personal grudge with Ava to carry out an action she never intended to take, harm her own father. As all the pieces begin to fall into place, Molly is faced with an unimaginable decision. Should she confront Christina about what she knows, or remain silent to protect her sister? Should she continue to pursue Ava, the woman she attacked and who may have tried to kill, or focus on protecting her family? And most importantly, should she tell her father, who is slowly recovering and starting to remember, what she has discovered? As Molly struggles with these decisions, little does she know that Ava has begun to plan her counterattack. Ava, realizing that both Rick and Molly are closing in on the truth, decides that the best way to protect herself is to strike first. She begins spreading rumors about Molly's mental state, suggesting that the young woman is becoming unstable due to the stress of her father's condition. She also approaches Christina, threatening to expose her role in the accident if she doesn't cooperate in a new plan, one that involves silencing both Rick and Molly for good. As the situation continues to escalate, one thing is certain: secrets and lies are quickly reaching their end, and when the truth is finally revealed, no one involved will be the same. Rick, with his memory gradually returning, is becoming an increasingly dangerous threat to Ava. Molly, with her newfound discoveries, is walking a dangerous path that could lead to the destruction of her family. And Christina, caught between guilt for what she has unwittingly caused and fear of the consequences, is growing more desperate and may become dangerous. As Port Charles continues to watch the unfolding situation, no one can predict who will stand tall and who will fall when the storm finally subsides. But one thing is certain: the secrets that have been kept will no longer be buried, and when they are exposed, they will shake the very foundation of Port Charles in ways no one could have imagined. Meanwhile, Curtis and Drew are at odds over the future of Aurora Media. A power struggle that is growing increasingly intense between the two men who were once close friends. The conflict began when Drew, after losing a significant portion of his ELQ shares to Spencer, decided to focus his business efforts on Aurora Media, the media company he had built with Sam. However, during Drew's absence, Curtis had become a major shareholder in Aurora and developed his own vision for the future of the company, a vision that sharply contradicted Drew's plan. Drew wants to expand Aurora into a multi-platform media empire, focusing on news and entertainment, with plans to acquire several local newspapers and radio stations to increase the company's presence. Curtis, on the other hand, believes the future lies in digital content and social media and wants to invest in online platforms and mobile apps. This difference in vision has led to tense board meetings, with both sides trying to convince other shareholders to back their respective plans. But the new shock is that a mysterious third party has secretly started buying up shares of Aurora through a series of shell companies. Both Drew and Curtis are unaware of this threat until it's too late. By the time they realize, this third party has gained nearly 30% of the company's shares, enough to hold significant sway in board decisions. When the identity of this third party is finally revealed, both Drew and Curtis are shocked. It's Valentine Cassadine, who has returned to Port Charles after a long absence and seems to be executing a complex plan to seize control of the city's major businesses. Valentine, with his characteristic intelligence and calculation, has begun playing the divide and conquer game, fueling discord between Drew and Curtis while quietly approaching other shareholders to strengthen his position. He has proposed a third vision for Aurora, a vision that involves turning the company into a platform for other Cassadine Industries businesses, using it to shape public opinion and control information. The growing tension between Drew and Curtis has turned into an all-out war as Valentine manipulates the situation to his advantage. He has started spreading rumors about Drew to Curtis, suggesting that Drew is planning to remove Curtis from the company once he regains control. At the same time, he has approached Drew with information that Curtis is secretly negotiating to sell his shares to a competitor. These rumors and suspicions have only deepened the rift between Drew and Curtis, pushing them further apart and making their rivalry more hostile. Aurora's staff has begun taking sides, creating a toxic and divisive work environment. The situation becomes even more complicated when Portia, Curtis's wife, and Willow, Drew's girlfriend, get drawn into the conflict. Portia, always protective of her husband, has begun clashing with Drew at social events, while Willow, torn between her loyalty to Drew and her friendship with Curtis and Portia, finds herself in an awkward position. This tension is starting to affect their personal relationships, with Portia and Willow beginning to clash, further deepening the rift between the families. As the power struggle at Aurora continues to escalate, Valentine has quietly continued buying up more shares, gradually increasing his position in the company. He has also started approaching key Aurora employees, offering them higher positions and better pay if they support him in the upcoming battle. By the time Drew and Curtis realize they are being manipulated, it may be too late. Valentine has almost enough shares to launch a hostile takeover, and the divide he has created between Drew and Curtis has weakened their ability to unite against him. They now face a difficult decision. Can they set aside their differences and work together to save Aurora from Valentine, or has their animosity gone too deep to overcome? As Port Charles watches the power struggle unfold, one thing is certain: Aurora Media's future is under threat, and if Drew and Curtis can't find a way to cooperate, they may both lose everything to Valentine Cassadine, a man whose plans for Aurora go far beyond making it a successful media company. As factions continue to form and alliances break down, no one can predict who will stand strong and who will fall when the dust settles. Jason and Carly are experiencing increasing tension related to Brennan, a complex situation that has put strain on their long-standing friendship. Jason, with his strong protective instincts and sharp ability to read people, has been suspicious of Brennan ever since this man entered Carly's life. Something about Brennan, his convenient arrival, his backstory that seemed too well prepared, and especially his suspicious interest in Jocelyn, has made Jason wary. He began secretly investigating Brennan, using his connections to learn more about him. Carly, on the other hand, had developed deep feelings for Brennan and felt offended by Jason's suspicions. After years of hardship and loss, she had finally found a man who made her feel happy and loved. And she didn't want Jason's paranoia to ruin that. She repeatedly asked Jason to stop investigating and trust her judgment, but Jason, always feeling the responsibility to protect Carly and her family, refused. The tension between them reached its peak when Jason presented his findings, evidence suggesting that Brennan may not be who he claims to be and that he could be linked to Sunny's enemies. Carly, feeling betrayed by her closest friend, reacted angrily, accusing Jason of interfering too much in her life and trying to control her as Sunny once did. The argument ended with Carly demanding that Jason stay away from her and Brennan, a request Jason reluctantly respected, although he continued to monitor the situation from afar. Now, as the troubles surrounding Jocelyn's whereabouts are mounting, both Carly and Jason find themselves needing to take new actions, leading to one of the latest shocks. Jocelyn, after being recruited by the WSB and beginning her first mission, suddenly goes off the radar. She stopped answering her phone, did not respond to messages, and missed a scheduled meeting with her WSB supervisor. What made the situation even more alarming was that her last mission involved tracking a weapons trafficking group connected to Sunny's enemies whom Jason suspects may be linked to Brennan. When Carly received a call from the WSB reporting Jocelyn missing, she immediately contacted Jason, putting aside their previous disagreements. Jason, without hesitation, rushed to Carly's side, ready to do whatever it took to find Jocelyn. Together, they began looking for information about Jocelyn's last mission and where she might have gone. What shocked them both was Brennan's reaction to the news. Rather than expressing concern as expected, Brennan seemed to downplay the situation, suggesting that Jocelyn might just be enjoying her time off or was so focused on the mission that she forgot to check in. He also tried to prevent Carly from contacting Jason, implying that doing so might jeopardize Jocelyn's WSB career if she was indeed working undercover. This response raised new suspicions in Carly, especially when she happened to overhear a secret phone call Brennan made shortly after learning about Jocelyn. She heard him telling someone, "The situation is getting complicated, and we need to accelerate the plan." When Carly confronted Brennan about the call, he reacted with unusual defensiveness, accusing her of lacking trust and invading his privacy. With growing doubts, Carly decided to trust Jason's instincts and fully cooperate with him in finding Jocelyn. They began their own investigation, using Jason's underground connections and Carly's knowledge of Jocelyn's work at the WSB. What they uncovered shocked them both. Evidence that Brennan not only knew about Jocelyn's disappearance but might have been directly involved in it. In a surveillance video Spinelli managed to find, Brennan is seen meeting with a man known to be a senior member of the arms trafficking organization Jocelyn had been investigating. The meeting occurred just hours before Jocelyn disappeared. And during it, Brennan seems to hand the man something that looks like a file that Jason and Carly suspect may contain information about Jocelyn and her mission. As Jason and Carly face the possibility that Brennan may have betrayed Jocelyn and put her in danger, they are faced with a difficult decision. Should they confront Brennan directly? Or should they continue their secret investigation to gather more evidence? And if Brennan truly has betrayed them, can they trust anyone at the WSB to help search for Jocelyn? As the situation continues to unfold, one thing is certain: Jason and Carly, despite their past disagreements, are now united in their determination to find Jocelyn and protect her from any danger. And if Brennan truly has betrayed them, he will soon learn a painful lesson about what happens when someone threatens Carly's family, especially when Jason Morgan is by her side. As Port Charles continues to follow the situation, no one can predict where Jocelyn is or whether she is safe. But one thing is certain: Jason and Carly will not stop until they find her and bring her home safely, no matter what dangers or betrayals they face along the way. Jocelyn knows her fate. A shocking and horrifying discovery as she realizes that she has been deceived and placed in a deadly situation. After days of being held at a secret location, Jocelyn finally understands the full extent of the plot she has inadvertently become a part of. Vaughn and Brennan, two people she trusted and viewed as mentors at the WSB, are actually traitors working for an international crime syndicate, the very organization she was tasked with investigating. The new story of Vaughn and Brennan being ready to assign her a major mission highlights the new obsession for Jocelyn as they reveal their true plan. They not only want to use Jocelyn as a pawn in their power game but also plan to exploit her relationship with the Corinthos family to infiltrate the Port Charles underworld. The big mission they refer to is a complex plan to use Jocelyn to get close to Sonny and eventually overthrow his empire, paving the way for their organization to take over Sonny's territory. Jocelyn, already stunned by this betrayal, now faces an unimaginable choice: cooperate with Vaughn and Brennan, thereby betraying her family and those she loves, or refuse and face potentially deadly consequences. She knows that if she refuses, she may never see her family again, but if she agrees, she will have to live with the guilt and betrayal for the rest of her life. This is where Jocelyn's new level of seriousness explodes as she begins planning her next move. With all the intelligence and courage she possesses, Jocelyn decides she will not become a pawn in their game. Instead, she begins to develop a bold plan, one involving pretending to cooperate with Vaughn and Brennan while secretly finding ways to contact her family and allies back in Port Charles. Using the skills she learned during her WSB training, Jocelyn starts gathering information on Vaughn and Brennan's organization, memorizing every detail that might be useful later. She also begins looking for a way to send a secret message about her location and situation, hoping that Jason or Spinelli will be clever enough to decode it. Meanwhile, to keep Vaughn and Brennan's trust, Jocelyn has to play the part of a scared, manipulable young woman, willing to do anything to survive. She has to listen to them talk about their plan to destroy her family, pretending to agree with their disgusting ideas, all while trying to suppress the anger and disgust bubbling inside her. As Jocelyn continues this dangerous game, little does she know that in Port Charles, Jason and Carly have started suspecting Brennan and are conducting their own investigation. She also doesn't know that Spinelli has discovered a small clue about her location and is working tirelessly to decode it. As the situation continues to develop, one thing is certain. Jocelyn Jacks is facing the greatest challenge of her life, one that will test not only her strength and intelligence but also her loyalty and morality. And as she continues this dangerous cat-and-mouse game with Vaughn and Brennan, only time will tell if she can escape this situation safely, and whether she can thwart their plan before it's too late. In Port Charles, the clock is ticking, and everyone is racing against time to rescue Jocelyn before she is forced to take an irreversible action, an action that could forever change not only her life but also the fate of the entire city.